Well, hey guys, how y'all doing? This is Brian, Cliffside Outfitters. Glad to have you back with us today. We've been cutting up venison today. Me and Garvis has been lucky this year, and we got plenty of meat in the freezer. But the one thing that we're lacking on, we're about out of jerky. We've been hunting quite a bit, and we've run through our jerky supply. The last jerky that I made, and I showed you the recipe for it in another video, was the burger jerky. And it's quick and easy, and I like it. It works great. But the recipe that I'm going to be doing today is the traditional jerky, the strip jerky. The whole muscle. You know, you take the roast and slice it, and it's the whole muscle jerky. And I'm going to show you the recipe that we use. Now, it's from scratch. We don't buy, of course we buy our seasonings and stuff. We don't buy any of the premixes. We do everything from scratch. And I'm going to show you probably my favorite whole muscle jerky recipe. So let me show you the seasoning I use, and we'll get right into making some jerky. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to mix up our base seasoning. So let me grab a couple things and I'll show you the recipe. Alright, so we got us a mixing bowl here. And the first thing that I'm going to put in the mixing bowl, the first ingredient in this recipe, I've got 1 cup of brown sugar. You can use light brown or dark brown sugar, whatever you prefer. I'm going to put that right in there. Now the next thing that I'm going to put in the bowl, I've got 1/4 of a cup of salt. I'm not going to go extremely heavy on the salt because we're going to add some Tender Quick, and it also has salt, so we're going to go a little light on the salt. 1/4 cup of salt in the bowl. Now the next thing we're going to put in there is chili powder. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of chili powder. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of onion powder. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of black pepper. And then the last ingredient in our spice mix, I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of cayenne pepper. This seasoning, we're going to mix it up. This is going to be our base recipe. All of this is not going in my jerky. I'm going to mix this up and we're going to put it in a container, and we're going to have it whenever we're ready to make this kippered style strip jerky. Now you can use a spoon or anything you want, but I'm going to use a little whisk here, and I'm going to mix this seasoning up. I'm going to try to incorporate everything, break up all the clumps. That brown sugar, it'll clump up on you, but we're going to break everything up and incorporate everything together, blend everything together, because we don't want hot spots, we don't want sweet spots. We want everything blended really well. Get that all blended together. Alright guys, so what I have here is a venison roast, and it's really cold. I'd actually like to have a little more time in the freezer, but it's pretty cold. And what that does, anytime you're cutting meat, if it's cold almost to the point of freezing, then it's gonna It's going to cut better, and it's going to make a prettier product. So let me get a knife, and we'll get to work on this thing. Now you can use a chef knife like I got here. You can use a butcher knife. If you've got one of those slicers, you can use a slicer. That works real good for this. Keeps your slices uniform. That's one of the main things about making this strip jerky. When you put it in a dehydrator, oven, however you're going to do it, you want to keep your slices as uniform as possible. If you're cutting at a 1/4 inch, then keep them all a 1/4 inch. That way they all come off at the same time. You know, and however thick or however thin you like it, that's up to you. But just try to keep it as uniform as possible. That way you don't have to tend to the dehydrator all the time. So we got our venison here, and we're going to take, and you can cut this 2 different ways. You want to cut it, if you want it more tender, the grain of this particular piece of meat runs this way. If you want it more tender, well then cut across the grain. If you want to chew on it for a little bit, like traditional jerky, cut it with the grain. So we're going to cut ours with the grain today and see how it turns out. It's not going to affect the flavor in any way. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to slice me off a piece. And we're going to shoot for probably a 1/4 inch, just like that. And that meat being really cold, almost frozen, makes this job a whole lot easier. If you let it get soft and let it heat up too much, then it's going to push around. But you see how nicely, and I probably need to sharpen my kitchen knives a little bit, but you can see that I'm making some pretty decent little slices just with the kitchen knife, and not having to get the slicer out. Alright guys, I'm going to finish cutting this up. Y'all don't want to sit here and watch me cut the rest of this up. So I'm going to get it cut up, and then I'll bring you back and we'll show you the rest of the recipe. Alright guys, so we got all our venison cut up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put this venison, these strips, and you can see, I've cut them pretty even. They don't have to be perfect. About a 1/4 inch slice. You can do thin or thick, whatever you like. The thicker you do it, the longer it's going to take to dry. We're going to get us another bowl. And we're going to put our venison in this bowl right here. And this is where we're going to marinate it. So we've got a base seasoning here. And what I'm going to do, my recipe calls for 3 tablespoons per pound. And that roast, I weighed that roast, it was right at 2 pounds before we sliced it up. And of course we didn't lose any, so it's all in there. So we're going to take our base recipe and we're going to put 3 tablespoons per pound of venison. So with 2 pounds of venison, that means we're going to put 6 tablespoons. And we ain't going to overdo it. More's not always better. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's our seasoning. Now let me show you what else goes in here. Now the recipe that I'm giving you is a 1 pound batch. You're going to notice that I'm going to double everything that I tell you. The reason I'm doing it in a 1 pound batch is because if you've got 50 pounds or you've got half a pound, this will make it easy for you. You can, you know, sometimes you go and you buy these seasonings and they say, well, this is with a certain amount, and then of course you have to divide. But I'm going to do it in a 1 pound batch. If you're doing 10 pounds, you just multiply by 10. And so let's get back to it. Now for my 1 pound batch today, I'm going to put half a tablespoon of lemon juice. If I'm not mistaken, that's a teaspoon and a half. About that much right there. And stuff like this, you know, when you're dealing with salt, you know, you want to be pretty precise, but a little bit of lemon, a little bit extra lemon juice ain't gonna hurt nobody. Now the next ingredient we're gonna add, this Worcestershire sauce or Worcester sauce, however you want to say it. We're gonna put some of that in there. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons per pound. I've got 2 pounds, so we're gonna use 4 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, that's already smelling good. All right, the next thing we're gonna add, guys, is tomato ketchup. And we're gonna add 1 tablespoon per pound of meat. So we're gonna add 2 tablespoons into the pot. 1 and 2. 2 good tablespoons. We're almost done. All right, guys, you probably remember this this product from the last video we did. But if you hadn't watched that video, I want to go ahead and explain what I've got here. This is Morton's Tender Quick, and they don't, you know, this is just what everybody uses. They don't pay me to tell you that this is what this is, but this is what it is, and it's a safe curing agent. However, you want to make sure that you measure properly. What I want to put in mine is a ½ teaspoon per pound, so I'm going to put a teaspoon. I've got 2 pounds. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of Morton Tender Quick, and basically what this is, it's a sodium nitrate and salt, and so it's the sodium nitrate's diluted. Some things that you cure, you use just pure sodium nitrate, but this is diluted with salt, and it works good for jerky and stuff like that. So let's put some of it in there. Now there again, I told you earlier that we're going a little light on the salt. And the reason we are is because this product brings additional salt to your jerky. So there's our Morton's Tender Quick. We're going to put it in there. All right, let's give it a stir. Grab me a spoon over here, and I'm going to mix it in. And I'm going to mix it really well. I want all that, everything mixed together really well. Now you could, if you want to, you can put all the seasonings, the Tender Quick and all the liquids together and mix that prior to putting it in here. But if you don't mind stirring a little bit, and I don't, then just put it in there and stir it up. We've got our seasoning in there. Everything's in there you need to make some great jerky. So the next step, we're going to take this jerky and it's going to marinate 8 hours minimum. I'm going to leave mine overnight. I'm going to put it in the bag and I'm going to marinate it overnight. Then we'll take it out, get ready to hydrate it. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys, how y'all doing? Well, it's been 24 hours. We've waited 24 hours. Yesterday, we cut our venison up and we seasoned it. We put it in the marinade and we put it in the refrigerator. But it's been the 24 hours that I suggested that you wait. So let's grab it out of the refrigerator and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, here's what we got. Now I put mine in a Ziploc bag because it saves space in the refrigerator, and I can roll it up and I can find a space for this a whole lot easier than I can a bowl. But let's get this open and I'll show you what's inside. Let's get our bag open. All right, so now after setting in that marinade, you can see that it's went through a color change, and that's the seasoning soaking into the meat. And of course the cure that we put in it, that Tender Quick had sodium nitrate, and that'll give it a red color. Sometimes develops as pink, but we've got our Worcestershire sauce, so we've got a nice mahogany color to our jerky. Now all I'm going to do is, let me get my hands cleaned off here. My dehydrator, I've had it for a long time. It's just one of the old, I think it's a Harvest dehydrator, maybe a Nesco, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to put my jerky directly on the trays. And there's no use to spray anything on the trays. It'll release just fine. But just take your jerky and just lay it out here on the tray. We'll get it all laid out. You want to leave space in between. I don't want none of these touching. I want some airflow all the way around. I want it to dry evenly. So let's just lay it on the tray, and I've got a bunch of these. We'll lay them out, and we'll get them stacked up and get it dehydrated. And I'm sure if y'all got a dehydrator, you know how that works. So I'm not going to go through that. I went through that in previous videos. So let me get this stacked up. We'll get it in a dehydrator and we'll dry it out and show you what it looks like. If you don't have a dehydrator, there's directions. I'm sure you can find them all over the internet on how to make jerky in the oven. You just have to be cautious on the oven rack. You want to, don't let it fall through. But you can put it on the oven rack, put your oven on. If your oven will go fairly low, you want to go to the lowest setting, 150, 160 degrees is probably the minimum you could get. Keep an eye on it. You want to leave the oven door cracked a little bit. But we're going to do ours on the dehydrator. Well, you'll have to keep an eye on it. But it's not going to be as tedious as watching it in the oven. And so mine will probably have to dehydrate 1/4-inch slices. It's probably going to take several hours to get it dried out. But I'm going to get it in the dehydrator and get it dried out, and we'll show you what we've got. So I'll see you in a few hours. Well, good morning, guys. I think we got our jerky dried out. Just about time to go to work, but I was going to let you take a look at it before we take off. So let's get our dehydrator over here and we'll take a look at what we've got. All right, here's the finished product. Looks pretty good, as you can see. Let me get that over where you can look at it. It's dried out. Looks real good. Now, I didn't dry it out till it's plumb brittle, but you can see it'll start to break a little bit. And that's just perfect. That's just the way I like it. So we've got us a whole bunch of jerky here. Of course, this was a small batch. See how this next tray. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alright. So we're ready to go to the woods. That's ready to go. Ready to go. I'm gonna put mine in a Ziploc bag here, and I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator. And, so there you have it. We've got our jerky, and that's all there are to it. It's just that easy. Well, guys, there you have it. That's all there are to making some great venison jerky. Now, any of the seasoning blends, anything that you don't like in the mix, just admit it. I like to change it up, and like I said, that's pretty much my base. That's what I've determined I like. But anything in there, if you don't like pepper, then don't add it. So, but anyway, I want to thank you for watching the videos. This is Brian with Cliffside Outfitters. Y'all have a good day.